Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now, today we're looking at a picture of Mars, believe it or not. This is Mars. Now, all I've done here is I've flipped this image around. I'll show you where to get this image. The link will be in the description as usual, so you can click on that and it will take you straight to the page. I'll show you where I got it from. It should be up here. Here we go. Now, this is NASA.gov photojournal for the Viking mission. Okay? And this is the image here, PIA 00406, Hellas mosaic, full resolution TIFF. I've used the TIFF image obviously, but the JPEG isn't bad, it's not too bad. If you've got limited space on your device, you may want that one instead, if you're using a mobile device or something. But this is not false colour. Now, the interesting thing is, I'll show you the top of the page here, just to prove that I'm not making this up. JPL photojournal, and we're looking at the Viking missions. Now, I've been looking at some of these Viking images, and it's quite obvious to me that we have been misled to a large extent about the actual colours of Mars, and also a lot of these images are much better quality than a lot of the images we get now from Mars. I mean, if you look at the size of some of these images, they're like 100 meg or 50, 60, 80, you know, they're quite large images, and the average sort of size of these planet images here is about 60 megabytes, which is a good size, and they're not obfuscated, they're good quality, and they're the detail's really good. And obviously when you're looking at the whole planet, you're not going to see much on the ground, because these are taken from a long way out, hundreds and hundreds of miles, probably thousands of kilometers away from the actual planet. So you're not going to see any great ground detail. But what you can determine from these images is that the images we get in the press and in the media are, on the whole, only the red images of Mars. Now, when you scroll through these images here, and there's thousands of these images. I mean, a lot of these were taken back in the mid-70s by the Viking 1 mission, and there's some of them say natural color or approximately natural color. Some of them say false color. You know, there's different types of images here. But I actually think that the ones that look orange are actually the ones that are false colour. And see this one here, Melas Chasm here, enhanced colour. Now, all they've probably done there is white balanced it to make it look like it would to the naked eye. So that's probably nearer the actual real colour of Mars. Because when you look at the one I just showed you, which is up here somewhere, where's it gone? I've got it here anyway. When you look at this one, now I've flipped this round. I'll show you how it looks normally before anything's done to it. Now, this is completely raw. I haven't done anything to this whatsoever. This is as it comes, as you download it. It's quite a large file, and it's in a funny angle here, but that's probably the orientation it was taken, because this very bright area at the bottom here is the South Polar ice cap. And you can see, without doing anything to this image, that there's a large area of cloud. And in fact, if you look at a lot of the Hubble images of Mars, you do see clouds quite often, especially the images taken back in the mid-90s. Let's go to here a minute. I think we got some here. Here we go. Now, this, if you just type in planet Mars, you get all sorts of crap turning up, and a lot of these aren't even images of Mars for some reason, and a lot of them are completely false and are very heavily manipulated images. Some of them are graphically enhanced, some are mock-ups, which are composite images made up from multiple photographs and then treated and colour filtered and blurred and all sorts of things. But actually, when you look at the Hubble images, there's one here at the top left here, you can tell the Hubble images straight away, because generally the planet looks more of a sort of brownish colour, and you can often see these blue areas around the edge, which is the blue atmosphere, of course, and you usually see the polar ice cap. Now, we have been told by many, well, by NASA many times that that the ice on Mars is not actually water ice, that it's actually frozen carbon dioxide. Well, maybe some of it is, but actually I've actually heard some people from NASA say otherwise. So it depends who you listen to at NASA. They do spout a lot of BS about Mars a lot of the time, and a lot of the imagery we get is either false or heavily manipulated and colour filtered. And this is a typical image of Mars showing all the clouds, you know, and this is what Mars would have looked like. I don't know when exactly, but I can't remember when this was, but that's what it would have looked like in the past when the planet was colder. But here we go. I mean, you can just do a search for Mars images, and all these will come up. You just what I generally do is go for a larger than size, so that they're at least a sort of half decent size to look at, because otherwise you just get loads of crappy little tiny images which are no good to anybody really. But most of these images are fake. This one here, that's not an image of Mars. A lot of these images have been heavily manipulated, and I do wonder actually with a lot of these things whether, you know, this is a typical image you'll see, and this often gets used in the newspapers when they want to show a picture of Mars. They rarely use the Hubble images for some reason, and this is a topographical depiction of the Mars surface showing the actual features. Now, the thing is with these probes that are buzzing around Mars, I mean, there's been dozens of missions sent to Mars, and the thing is, they have different cameras. Some of them are normal sort of RGB sort of cameras. Some of them are radar. Some of them see into near infrared, or some of them are pure infrared. And I often wonder, actually, a lot of the time, what we're seeing are images from various different types of camera. They're not actually normal cameras. So this is what could be why we're getting such a distorted view of the surface. And the images may well have been enhanced either with a colour filter or with you know, various other techniques as well. And often you get some images of Mars that are completely contradictory, and they don't even show the polar ice cap. So that's not a true image of Mars at all. Since when did Mars have no polar ice caps? So you've got to sort of pick through the BS a bit when it comes to Mars, and we get a lot of this. After a while, you begin to realise that about 50% of all the information that we're given about Mars is either a complete lie or very misleading, at least. And you've really got to look through this stuff and read between the lines. And there's this image here. This image was taken by a buddy of mine called Coach Billy Carson, who's the guy that runs this site here on Facebook, which is called Mars Discoveries and Solar System Anomalies, which is an awesome page on Facebook, which I thoroughly recommend. You can ask to join, and we'll let you join as long as you're not rude or post abusive stuff. So that's all good. And this is an image he took just a couple of days ago of Mars with his own telescope here, and it clearly shows that the blue and some green, a bit of brown here, some more blue up here. That's probably the North Polar ice cap there, and the other ice cap just down here. But look at this green. There's a bit of yellowy green colour there, and there's a little green there. Now, a lot of astronomers have said this. In fact, if you look it up, you will find hundreds of stories about this going back decades on the internet. All you have to do is Google green colour on Mars or something like that, and you will get dozens and dozens of stories about this where people have taken images of Mars and you get large green areas. Now, this happens every year. Obviously in the winter, the green sort of disappears, it dissipates. But in the spring and summer, it goes green. Now, this is a fact, and this is something that they will never tell you on the news. The people on the news are very good at giving us propaganda and just repeating parrot fashion what NASA say a lot of the time. They very rarely actually look at these things themselves and actually find out the truth. And basically, what we do get is a lot of propaganda about Mars. And this is probably the same about lots of the planets in our solar system. And more than one of them may be inhabited, including Mars. That we're finding now that a lot of these planetoids and moons around various planets in our solar system have atmospheres with high levels of oxygen. Pluto looks very interesting. You know, there's a lot going on at the moment. I'll be doing an update on this very soon. I'm trying to keep this short. If you want to get the link to these Viking images here, I've just added this page to my Android app, which is totally free. Here it is here. There'll be a link below for this, so you can download this on your mobile device, or you can just use it on your desktop like this by pressing this HTML5 thing here, and that will give you the app on your desktop, and you can access all the links to all the Mars images and all the moon images and a whole lot more. There's tons and tons of stuff, and I've just added this new Viking. Well, it's not the new link. I've just added this Mars Viking images link right at the bottom here of the research page, and there really is tons of stuff here. So I recommend this. It's totally free. Some people have sort of had a bit of a go at me for saying, "Oh, you're just using your channel to promote your own app." Well, why shouldn't I? It's a completely free app. I'm not charging anybody for it. There's no adverts on it, so it's not going to annoy you too much. It's completely free. This is a research app for people out there who want to look at images of our solar system, and it contains pretty much all of them. Somewhere between 5 and 10 million images are on here. It's absolutely crazy how much you will get here, and this also links to this Facebook page, which I just showed you here, which is Mars Discovering Solar System Anomalies, and it will link you to all sorts of interesting stuff, as well as some of the top anomaly channels, like Mars Anomalies and What's Up in the Sky 37 channel, and a whole like Monty Williams and lots of others. So there's loads of website links here, and it will also take you to some of my buddies on YouTube, and some interesting radio channels on YouTube and that kind of thing, and news channels. You got Coast to Coast on there. You got beforeitsnews.com. You got space.com. You got all sorts of stuff. So I mean, and if you've already downloaded it, do come back on a sort of monthly basis and update it. Come back to the link and update it, because there will be the occasional update with if I find a really cool NASA page or anything like that, I will add it to the app. So there will be more, but it will only be an occasional thing now. I mean, it is a finished app, and I will just add the odd thing, say once a month or something, maybe 1 or 2 extra links, because basically I want to make it the most powerful app out there and the most useful app for anyone who wants to research our solar system. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that wasn't too long, and let's take another quick look at this. This is the raw version. Look how blue this is. This looks like a blue planet. It looks very much like Earth. Huge clouds here, huge clouds. I'll show you the flipped around version, and I haven't added any blue to this. All I've done is increase the contrast by about 30 or 40% here. So I turn up the contrast, and that just makes the blue darker. So there we go, and what a stunning image. And this was taken back in the mid-70s, and it's better than a lot of the stuff we get now. It really is a superb image, and you can see some great detail in here when you zoom in, and it's just awesome. I mean, when I saw this, my eyes popped out my head. I thought, wow, look at that. That is something I've never seen on the internet. I haven't seen this one before. Other people may have published it, but I haven't seen it, and I do look at a lot of these things. So I just thought that was awesome. This would go on the cover, of course. I mean, what an awesome image that is. And this just goes to show that what we are shown by the media and by NASA largely is false. And this is a lot more what it probably actually looks like to the naked eye. Unbelievable. Look at the detail in here. Look at that wonderful blue colour, and look at these clouds. Now if there's clouds there, of course there must be rain and snow, and these ice caps do shrink in the summer. They shrink back like ours do, and then they grow back in the winter. So there must be snow in these areas for them to actually change size. You know, so it's a lot more like Earth than people realise, and there's no coincidence that we are going to colonise this place, because it is very much like Earth, and there's lots of water, there's a lot of ice. There are a number of people that claim to have been working on Mars for a number of years. You can just Google that. I may put a link in the description for that. Actually, there's a number of stories and claims by ex-military personnel that they've been on Mars for decades already, working up there. Don't ask me what they're doing, but some of these people claim that they've been there for a long, long time, and that we have been colonising Mars, at least to a very small degree, for quite some time. Now, I can't possibly verify that, whether that's true or not, of course. But it's worth looking up, and I will put a link in the description for that as well, so you can have a quick read. So there we go, folks. If you don't have this already, it's totally free. The Android version here, or the HTML5 version for your iPhone, if you've got an iPhone, or your desktop. And I'd also thought I'd throw in this. I was looking at some Kaguya images of the moon last night, and this is also a link from my app as well. You'll find a link to this from my app. It's right at the bottom here somewhere. Hang on, wrong page. Let's go back here. Let's go to the research page, and we go near the bottom here. Here we go. The Selene Moon Images, Japan. Okay, this will take you to the main Kaguya page, and you want to look around 2008 September, I think it is, and you will get this. Now this this on the right here is an image taken on the Apollo 15 mission. Okay, this is NASA, and you can see some of the equipment here on the ground where they landed, with a little antennae there. Okay, and this is an image taken by the Japanese mission on the left, which shows exactly the same spot with nothing there at all. Now, if I was a conspiracy theorist, which I am not, what I would probably do is make a video and say that we never went to the moon, because I could show that image and say we never went there, because the stuff that NASA claim is on the surface is simply not there. But if you actually read the text, the viewpoint of the 3D image produced from the TC stereo pair data can be freely changed. The 3D image from TC data shows quite a similar landscape, left image, to the picture taken by the Apollo 15 crew, right image, provided by NASA. Although the small objects, e.g. rocks, cannot be shown in this TC image because their respective sizes are less than the spatial resolution of the TC of the camera of 10 meters. So basically it explains in detail there why you can't see this detail, because the camera doesn't have the resolution. This is probably taken from quite a lot further away and zoomed in, and they've probably just clipped this out of one of their images to match up to this, but the camera doesn't see anything smaller than 10 meters in size, which is why there's no detail of this object here and this antennae. So there you go. But if I was a conspiracy theorist, and I have been accused of it, I could have easily just clipped that out and done a story about them not going to the moon, and it could all be a lie. But I'm not going to. Why? Because that is not the truth. If you look at the small print, it usually it explains quite well why these things are like they are. But there are a whole bunch of channels out there that who are a bit cavalier and would have just published that and made a big story out of it, and probably got thousands and thousands of hits out of it. And basically, I'm not going to name any names, but there are a whole bunch of channels out there that do that kind of thing, and I do think a lot of you would probably be aware of who they might be. I'm not going to mention who they are, but there we go. So there it is, folks. So yeah, get the free app. It's 136 downloads out, which is not a hell of a lot, but I haven't really advertised it, so that's not bad for organic hits. So there we go. Mars is not necessarily the colour we're told it is. This is what it actually looks like, and all I've done is darken this contrast a bit here, just to really make it obvious to you. And it is an absolutely stunning thing to look at. What an absolutely amazing image. And this was taken in the mid-70s. You know, and so why hasn't this image been shown on the news? I mean, what's going on? Who knows? Who knows what these people are up to? Absolutely stunning. There we go. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.